Hey, Cassindy, welcome to Smart Match TV, sorry. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's really nice to see you again, Tim.
Very nice to see you too, and thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate your time. Cassindy, please introduce yourself to our audience and we can get started.
Great. So I'm a professional matchmaker. I love what I do, and I am a former Goldman Sachs banker, happily married, matchmaker, and I love working with my community, which is the Asian American community. I call it Asians and those who love them. But I also work with non-Asians of all races for ultra high net worth because I used to be at Goldman Sachs.
Wonderful. And I'm Tim, CEO of Smart MatchApp, the number one matchmaking software. So let's get the show started. Cassidy, I usually start by asking people to, like my viewers, to love to know about your story. They love to know about your background. So it would be nice to just to learn a little bit more about your personal story, like the person behind the business is always interesting for people. And then maybe a little bit about how you get into the matchmaking business. That's always
Sure.
interesting. Everybody has a unique journey to get to matchmaking. So
Yeah.
what's your unique journey?
Well, this came out of a joke during college, of all things. So I was at Wellesley College, which I'm very proud about, and we had a party, and it was the Asian Association blind date semi-formal. And I remember being an attendee, and it wasn't that great. But then I remember deciding I'm going to run this, and I ran it, and it was so much fun. And I worked with Harvard and MIT and all the local schools. And then I recruited, it wasn't just women from Wellesley and men from the other schools. I did both. I did co-ed. And it was so much fun. I nearly flunked that semester. But I remember thinking, this is so much fun. And I loved doing it. I didn't think it could be a career at all. So I was working in banking. I did the traditional thing at JP Morgan, then went to Goldman Sachs. But I always wondered, could I do this? And, no parent, no Asian parent says, oh, when you grow up, you're going to be a matchmaker. But after 10 years in finance, I'm like, this is really not very fun. I really love people. I love people. I love bringing good people together. And so I went back to doing it. So that's kind of my how it all started. And
It's
I
it's
remember, yeah,
is super interesting. I'm gonna comment right away. I hope if you don't mind. We
of course,
before we
Tim.
move to the next points. This is super interesting. No, not an, not Asian. There's no Asian parents. You're saying that ever says like when you grow up. I hope you're gonna be a matchmaker. This is the funniest comment I have heard on this podcast. To be honest.
Oh, I've got
Um,
many funny statements. You just wait.
I can imagine what kind of statements generally parents can make when their kids growing up. But this is very very hilarious actually. So you love people, and that's what brought you here. But also, I think that this industry is actually such a great industry, and it needs smart people. So yes, your background
Well, I
is
wouldn't call
is
myself smart, but I just call myself, I really do like people. I generally try to see the best in people. So I think
Yet you
it's,
have a good business background, and that I think is crucial. And that's what I mean, really, in my
oh,
own.
well,
I mean,
absolutely.
the business background, the savviness, that the business savviness you can bring together with the love of people, together, that makes, I think, is a unbeatable combination.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I think being in finance was great. I mean, I was in it for 11 years and it was a great experience. It gave me a lot of foundation. I also worked in tech running startups and, had several tech startups and it was a lot of work, right? I did a software language learning software platform. It was very hard. It was a very hard kind of project managing a lot of this through. So yeah, it was a lot of work and a
Software
lot of learning.
business. Yeah, let's tell me about software business. It's a tough business. Running software business, not to complain too much about it, but it's a very tough business. I mean, every business is tough. I'm pretty sure that be it tech business or banking or finance business, it's all business. That's why they call it business.
But the fun part of running a business is that it's because I don't like being told what to do, right? And so when you run your own business, You can do whatever it is that you want, and you live and die by the sword, but you have agency, right? I think for a lot of people in the world, we all want some semblance of control in our lives, right? And so, yes, it's chaotic running a business, but yes, you also can decide your own journey. You're not waiting to see, is this person gonna, am I not making a good enough impression, gonna get laid off or not, or whatever, which is hard, right? So I think for a lot of people who have a lot of skill sets, running a business ultimately is quite satisfying. That's all.
It is. It's probably the number one reason actually people start businesses is to be their own bosses.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
uh, not everybody can handle it. I've seen situations when people start a business and have to give up because they realize sometimes that it's long working hours. Sometimes working hours don't necessarily pay in the short term, so you
Of
have to play the
course.
long term vision, etc. But it's very rewarding if you can hustle through it in the beginning, especially.
Yeah. Or
It's
also finding a like-minded community to collaborate with, right? So I run an entrepreneurs group periodically down in Los Angeles, and I fly down specifically to work with these young folks who actually have helped me so much with my business too. They introduced me to all these new tools, AI tools, all sorts of stuff. And it's great. Like, I've learned a lot and I share back, right? And I think for all of us building businesses, or finding love in our lives, or it's all about collaboration, and true collaboration, not transactional collaboration, but collaboration where you're here to help somebody and they help you back. And it's not like, oh, are you going to give me a commission or not? No, it's about like I want to see you thrive.
And I hope the matchmakers from the alliance also that there's a it's a group it's a very wonderful group of matchmakers alliance matchmakers come to you hopefully for advice as well on
Oh,
general.
there's some wonderful matchmakers in the alliance. I mean, there's so much good stuff. I mean, I love Maria Activitas. I love Michelle Esri Jacobi, and I love Lori Burzak. I mean, they are the leaders and amazing. And I collaborate a lot with Megan Novinsky. We're running a lot of stuff there. So no, I think it's a great group. I mean, it's a great
And
group.
then on the up and coming matchmakers who join the alliance, they're blessed. I'm sure they're blessed to be in a company of all of the matchmakers like yours and everyone that you mentioned, because you get a tremendous amount of advice and guidance like that.
It's it's great. You get a lot of learning. You get a lot of share. It's like it's a great way to not go down a losing path, right? Because there's a lot to be learned, a lot of knowledge base that is resides within this community that I think is very helpful. And if anybody ever goes on to the community and says, I've got a question, usually people will give you very, very good answers, very savvy answers. And whether it's about contracting, whether it's about, pricing, there's a lot of great knowledge that is important. I've learned an incredible amount and I'm still learning always.
Yeah, learning is big part of it. And also,
It is.
what is interesting for me to learn today about you is your technical background. From what I know, for all these years working with matchmakers, Cassidy, a lot of them are more like people. So they don't necessarily always have a strong technical background. One of the reasons they find our software useful because it's not as demanding in terms of building a whole software setup. It's kind of
Well, what's great about Smart Match app, what's really wonderful about it is that it's very user friendly. It's built for our community, right? So a lot of the use cases that we're thinking about have already been anticipated by the Smart Match app team. And I've always gotten wonderful support and, frankly, a little bit of advice along the way too. Like, oh, let's redo it this way. I might say, this is how I want my workflow, right? This is how I'm structuring it. Oh, but why don't you do it this way? Right. And it solves what I need in a simple way. It's been very useful because can be very disorganized. I do many things. I wear many hats, but when I go onto my platform, the Smart Match app platform, I could find everything that I need. And now I'm finding even more use cases where I can execute email campaigns and different things like that are really helpful to me, right? That make my life easier. I think the challenge is always learning, right? And always going in. What I love about Smart Match app is you have at the bottom this training area. So I can just type in, I need to know how to do this or whatever. And boom, a video shows up and I self-learn. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So it's really helpful. I love it.
Well, it's good to know
I'm
that. It's good to know that. Thank you, especially about the help area. We're trying to improve the help area a lot so people can find information easily. Um,
Oh, it's been great because all I need to do is just type in my query, right? And it'll suggest a few videos. And I go, oh, it's right there. Oh, it's under the submission forms under there. And I like how it's very guided. Do this, do this, do this. I'm like, okay, good. Do this, do this, do this. Oh, there it is, right? And so that's been really nice.
Thank you. I'm gonna pass your feedback to our support group because they're working on the help section a lot lately. But we'll get more in the Smart Match details to share with our viewers in a little bit later. What I would love to know is still more about your business. So, um, what are the main problems do you think you're solving with your matchmaking services in your community? You see, there's so many specifics here. Matchmakers usually specialize in something. Some of them specialize in Christian community, some of them in Jewish community, some of them in high-tech community, even spiritual communities. Yours is Asian community. So,
Well,
um,
there's a lot. The Asian community has the Asian American community or whatever. It's not monolithic, right? Where there's so many different groups within it, right? You have the ABC, which is American born Chinese, right? You also have Chinese American, Korean American, Japanese American, right? You have so many different groups, right? But you also have not necessarily Asian American or Asian Canadian. You also have people who are from Hong Kong and Taiwan who came to the US for school. So there's very blended, right? So I think that's one thing is we're not the same community, we're not monolithic, but yet we have similarities. And what are the similarities? Right? The similarities are, well, a huge affinity for education, right? A huge affinity for financial stability, right? A huge affinity for, respect to elders and community, right? So there's certain things that are there, right? But, let's drill down on that. If we drill down on that, for example, it's what we call the elder sister problem. You have a lot of older sisters in a family, and they usually take on a lot of the family burden, right?
okay.
And so that's an issue, but that impacts how they date, right? You also have sometimes what I call you also have the way Asian men have been portrayed stereotypically in the media that's negative, and that's been hard. And how you get beyond the anger to basically Asian men are amazing. I mean, they're family oriented, financially stable, right? It's a good demographic, but imagery in terms of the media has not been positive. So there's certain nuances that I deal with, that I work with, because at the end of the day, how people date is so important. If they're not dating confidently, they're going to attract the wrong type. And so that's something that I work with. So yeah.
So that one of the main problems, is it correct to say that this is one of my favorite segments, by the way, talking about
Okay.
your challenges and the problems you're solving in your, in your business for your clients. So would it be fair to say that it's the confidence, it's the readiness to be matched with someone is what you're working on right now? Because I mean, is that the
Well,
main
it's
problem you're
it's
solving?
it's a combination because I have obviously a great database, right? I do a lot of talks with the Ivy League schools and things like that. So I do a lot of events, right? So I have a really good database, right? But you know, it's also about how people meet, right? And how they meet with vulnerability and honesty versus a facade, right? And so it's important to me to foster long-term relationships, not just sporadic dating. And so it's really important to me that my clients date well, right? Because I'm in it for the long term. Right? I love weddings. I'm not in it for them just to like play the field, right? And they can play the field, but then they may realize, well, at the end of the day, what is it that really works for me? Especially if you want to start a family, right? You're not just looking for, you know, a date on Friday night. You're also looking for somebody that you can take home to your parents, somebody that can hang out with your friends, somebody that also helps you grow your life, grow your business, right? It's for the long term. you know.
Yeah, there has to be a lot that needs to be accounted for. So there's a lot of pre matchmaking work that has to be done, specifically like coaching, I suppose, right? And
Well, a lot of people don't like coaching, so sometimes you have to kind of do it like you kind of, what did you think? So I do something. I have some Hong Kong clients that come out and I give them a dating buffet. And the dating buffet is I'll give them 6 people that I've chosen for specific reasons why I want them to date. And they're like, "Are you sure? Well, I'd like number 2 and number 6, but I don't think." And then afterwards, I go, "Wow, this is what it felt like to be seen, or this is what it felt like to laugh so hard, right?" Or things like that that really kind of open their world, right? So,
interesting. What are the typical backgrounds though that your clients have? Are they you're talking about EV leaks? So are they well educated usually? Are they
generally, I would say well-educated professionals, right?
well
And
educated professionals?
they've done well in their lives, one way or the other. Or I also have a lot of young people now whose parents are concerned because pandemic didn't help the dating situation, and dating in the colleges is quite rough. It's quite
Oh, like college age?
well, meaning that they didn't date a lot in college,
Oh,
and so
okay.
they didn't get to make a lot of the mistakes that usually, I mean, dating is always is an evolving process, right? And so, because of pandemic, whether it hit them in high school, whether it hit them in middle school, whether it hit them in college, right? By the time they come out of college, there's a lot of people who didn't date very effectively in college, right? They're like, oh, it was just these parties with hookup culture, or they just didn't date, and so sometimes they didn't have this typical experience of just kind of experimenting, right?
Yeah.
So now, fast forward, they're out of the college scene, they're working, and they may not be dating very effectively. And that's where sometimes parents come to me. And sometimes I organize small, like, get togethers. I call them matchmaker dinners, or, little events where you get the younger generation, let's just say, like from, 24 to 28 age, let's just say, and help them and just kind of foster a kind of a fun, safe environment where people can just kind of chit chat and talk.
So you
Right?
use events to also unlock some of the
Oh,
to
absolutely. Yeah. And you do it.
problems.
Yeah. And you do some icebreakers, a little fun. You do some kind of intentional matches. And it just kind of helps people to kind of have a little fun again. Right? So we all
And
need
I
it.
also find that going out to events, it just forces people to get out of their comfort zone, just to go out and, make
Yeah.
the first step.
But for a lot of people, the comfort zone is like, what do I expect at the event? But if they come to one of my events, I take care of them. Right? I basically will, sounds terrible, give them homework. You come and just listen to what I tell you to do. It's not meant in a mean way, but it gives them a safety. Like, oh, Matchmaker Cassindy is suggesting that I say this sentence, or I tell you about this. And it just kind of takes the pressure off, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm saying, oh, hi, tell me about yourself, or what makes you laugh, or say one thing that's you're amazing at, or whatever it is. Oh, no, no, this is the form. This is what I need to ask you, right? And it's just like, okay, but then it's a safe way to meet. And that
It
is
is,
my,
yeah, and not the first time I hear this. I heard it a few times, most recently from the gentleman who is running a matchmaking community for Christians, actually, and he uses events for that purpose, almost like a healing process, almost like a therapy in a way, because you need support, right? And you can get that in a safe environment, like a community or an event, with guidance from you. It's a wonderful way to get the process started, in my opinion. Effective. Looks like it's very effective too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
I heard the success stories. Talking about the success stories of your particular business, my favorite segment now. You don't have to name any names or any specifics that you don't want to, but what's interesting is to know how you, maybe one or two stories, how you took somebody from a difficult situation. And I know in this world of dating, there are difficult situations. So let's not be too modest. From a difficult situation to a success, would be nice to know, like your like a journey of a customer.
Okay, I got 2 stories for you. Okay, so One is, and she's still one of my favorite clients because she's Asian, smart, is a doctor, but she spent her whole life taking care of other people. She would take her godparents out for dim sum. She would do all these things. I'm like, you're not taking care of yourself. You're taking care of everybody else. And so that's what she's been doing her whole life, was serving the community, right? What a giving person, right? She's a doctor. She's taking her elders out, right? Very, very Asian, right? But she didn't neglected herself. And meanwhile, now fast forward, she's middle age and didn't have somebody special. And also, so as we work together, you know, we introduced different people and ended up finding a wonderful person who was in a way just like her. He also was very devoted to his parents. In this case, Jewish, who take him to synagogue, and she's Asian, but they both had a lot of similarity in terms of culture and appreciation for, again, education and stuff like that, right? But it was funny because she had a block. She had a big block. And her block was that she, being a doctor, was also didn't want to let go of control. So they were going to go have dinner, and they had dinner a few times. And then she said, "Well, you can come. Let's come over, and we'll have dinner at my home." So, he says, "I can grill," meaning that I'm not a great cook, but I can grill. And I asked her, I go, "Well, she's, oh, I'm not going to let him touch the kitchen at all." I'm like, "Why?" "Oh, no, 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 no." I go, "Well, can you let him grill?" "Oh, no, we might get salmonella." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no, no, you got to let him do something, right? You have to let go." And it was so funny because she's like, "Are you sure?" I go, "Yes, yes, yes, yes." And she did let go. And it was Halloween, and all these kids came over to their home trick or treating, and they both spent that whole night eating dinner together and opening the door for Halloween kids coming in for trick or treating and making jokes. So it was really sweet. And they actually got married. I mean, there's more stories along the way, but they did get married, and it's been wonderful. Like I love their story so much. Another one is a younger lady. So I had done a talk at the Harvard Club of New York, and it was sold out, over 100 people. I was like, wow, this is great. Um, and she listened to my advice about kind of being open because you're at the Harvard Club. It's very sophisticated, and people just kind of coming and going and checking each other out. But how do you do that connection? So she was walking in. This guy was walking. She's walking out. This guy was walking in. And she did my advice, which was holding the gaze for a little longer than normal. And she looked at him, and it wasn't like leering. It was very open and friendly, and she smiled. And then he comes out, and then they see each other again, just kind of gaze, and then he asked for a number. And she said to me, she goes, she didn't have the guts to do that until not me. She has, she didn't, but she took that advice to heart, right? And she took the advice to heart, and it meant that she was receptive. So the guy wasn't scared to come talk to her. He was open to it. And this woman is very talented. She's beautiful. She's trained as a ballerina. Like, she's just really talented. I think a lot of men would have just like, ugh. But because she's very open and receptive, that worked out. And then they ended up dating the whole summer. She met his parents. In the end, that one did not work out. But think about it. They actually had at least a 3 or 4 month, relationship. So it was all about being more open. So those are two favorites. I have so many more, but those are two that I would just cite.
I have to comment on this last one because it's wonderful. I'm just very amazed at just one simple change that you made, which is just look at somebody, or just look at somebody in the eyes, or straight to somebody's direction. How many people avoid doing that?
I
How
know.
many of us, including myself, are inside of our own world all the time, right? We just walk around without looking at anything
With
and
our
anybody.
phone, right? With our phone,
I,
right?
I noticed that even I just go out like to shopping. Nobody's looking at each
Mm-hmm.
other. Everybody's either like this or like this. Everybody's busy with something. So, um, how else are you gonna connect?
I
So,
know. There is a craving for human connection. There's such a craving and such a need for human connection, but we don't know how to do it anymore.
And that's a simple, very effective technique, Cassidy. Thank you for sharing this. And I hope people who watch this,
Oh, I have more. I've got techniques galore.
right?
Oh, I've got techniques about charisma and about all sorts of things. I can talk all day about that. Tips galore. I've got so
Oh,
many.
you know what? Yeah, I will probably take you on that and come back to you, and we just do a whole segment on just techniques and tips for singles.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Well, here's one tip: control your breathing,
oh
right? Because when you're calm and when you're looking at somebody,
yeah.
right, it's really different than like like that, right? And so people make their first impression of you in like the first minute generally, right, or the first 10 seconds. And what can you control? You can't say, "Oh, hi, I'm an amazing person. I'm really fun. You gotta love me," right? You can't do that. You could, but it wouldn't give you the right impact. So a lot of it's about eye contact and also about controlling your breathing. And go, "Oh my gosh!" And so that grounds you. You know, it grounds you. Okay, Tim, put your hand over your heart and just press. Tim, Tim, and just and press hard on on your heart. Just press. Yeah, just press. And that kind of
Can I close
grounds
my
you.
eyes too?
Yeah, no, don't close your eyes. Just it grounds you, right? You're like, oh, and then like it's almost like you're giving yourself a hug. It's like self love,
I
right?
feel heat on my chest when I put my hands on it. It's
Well,
nice.
I don't know about that. Well, that's of course because your hands are in it. But the point is being you're grounding yourself, right? You're grounding yourself. So then when you talk to someone, I mean, don't like this when you talk to them, but you kind of like before you go into an event, you kind of ground yourself, and then you go into the event.
Okay, that's it. Interview over. I'm feeling so good right now. I'm gonna. No, it's amazing. So the reason I'm saying about these tips like this is because we are this. Let me go back again to this previous example. It just touched me. So the she you said she is a ballerina, right? I mean, trained ballerina, and obviously she probably looks attractive, right?
Huge
And
or
you
beautiful.
you know you probably said that. Maybe I didn't pay attention, but she probably looks attractive. And so what men normally do when a woman is attractive, or when a woman is like they basically get more shy.
Of
They
course.
like just being myself, right? So you just basically, oh, no, I cannot, I don't have a chance, or whatever. It's just we have to overcome that. We have to be confident in that sense, a lot more than usual, to say, okay, well, look, I like her, and I think I deserve, or I should go out and just say something or present myself, or in some way. So a simple look like that from her already gives a gentleman an opening, right? So that's interesting technique from that sense, that it actually instills a little more confidence in approaching her, um, from the
But
from
basically, it's called flirting, right? The art of flirting is, especially even in today's kind of gendered world, is I work with heterosexuals. That's my focus. But the whole point of flirting is basically to let the other side know that if you ask, there's a chance I will say yes, right?
Okay. If it's flirting, then be it. But it's done well. It's not a flirting that's kind of misunderstood. It's a quite straightforward, and in my opinion, how can I say, it's not
It's it, it,
transparent,
it,
but
it's very comfortable.
comfortable. That's the way.
Yeah,
I was gonna say convenient or something. No, comfortable way to start an energy, to offer an energy here. It's an
yeah,
exchange of energy in a way, right? And so here we
exactly.
go.
Exactly. It's very frank, it's honest, and it's safe, right? Because it's not like not judging you and like or
Yes, yes.
like none of that, right? Because again, that's not my brand, right? My
It,
brand
it
is
it's
families and relationships, right?
and it's a fine approach. I love it, and I hope that the viewers can take away from this, because you have to help yourself. You have to help yourself in the game of dating, and I've been through this myself, divorce and everything else, and many people have or are going through this. So hopefully someone in this channel will get an idea and say, oh, And by the way, you just gave me an idea. Potentially, just not even focus on smart match as in technology, which is the next usually my questions, but also just maybe just interview matchmakers and share the tips from matchmakers with the viewers on YouTube, because I think that there are a lot of people on the YouTube who are on YouTube, millions of people who are watching YouTube who could just get a tip directly from matchmaker. It's a wonderful start. um, in terms of technology now. Again, this is helpful for many matchmakers because they jump on the channel, they read it, they read the interview, they read the website, they view the interview, say, "Oh, I loved what this person said. I love what Cassindy said about this and that. Can I get a demo?" So, what are your most useful and practical features that you favorite features that are in Smart Matchup specifically? Regarding managing your database, maybe searching the database.
Oh, obviously search, right? Advanced search is great, right? Advanced search is, it's basic, it's the basics, right? I can choose by location and name, and that's, or gender, etc., and that's easy, right? So it's a great way to organize my contacts, right? I also love the email submissions or the form submissions. Sorry, it's called the submission forms, right? That's also a factor that I
The
love, right?
website forms, if it's easier for people to understand, it's when you
Yeah,
collect the
basically, I
form.
make up a form, give me name, email, et cetera, right? And maybe a few questions or whatever, and I embed that into my website, right? And it's very easy. It's very easy to do. You just create the form. They have all the fields. You just click, click, click. These are the ones that I want. And that's what's nice about Smart Match App is they already have a lot of the questions that we typically will ask,
And you
right?
can style it and then embed it into your website like
Yep, and it's so
seamlessly.
easy. There's a little click. You get the code right and the title, and you just pop it in. It's like done. Like it's like a 5 minute process.
And it's a time saver in the long term because everyone who submits on your website directly goes into your
Yeah,
database,
go
right?
straight in, right? And I can look into my dashboard and go, okay, how many people signed up today, right? It's a good way to do things. I also love the email templates, right? So I have an email, I have a series of email templates that I'll do that, I can do a funnel, I can do a nurture campaign, right? And I also love the automations. I'm not so good on that yet, but I like the automations because then let's just say somebody doesn't fill out their form completely. It can chase them every
Notifications,
few
yes.
days, right? And stuff like that. So there's workflow automations, and it lists out all the different areas when you can automate, and you can go boom. After they submit this, I can do that, right? It's nice. Um,
We offer completely free automation training. It's our recent campaign because we find our beloved matchmakers and we love our clients do too much manual work, and that's
I know
frustrating.
it's not a good use of time, right? Um,
Yeah. So we are offering now completely free call with with Nikolai, who you already said that you love to work with
But
him. So
Nikolai's amazing. Nikolai is so smart, so sharp, so efficient, and he's better than just somebody who just does what you tell him to do. Better than that is he'll say, "Oh, what are you trying to solve? Ah, let's try this." Right? And it's like, wow, that's great because
great.
none of us are going to be experts in Smart Match App, right? We're not, and we're matchmakers. We're not software, platform experts, but
Yeah.
we know what we want to achieve, right? And he's really good at that.
We learned that offering this complementary sessions actually is very helpful. We are practicing this a lot more now, just proactively. So we're reaching out to matchmakers, to our clients, to offer them this training
Oh
because
yeah, absolutely. I need it. So yeah, no, but it is a great platform and it's very fun. It's very easy to use. And my biggest challenge is to unlock more of the capabilities because this helps me reduce my manual time for
over
sure.
the years it has become quite a lot of functionality, and that's one of the challenges. The more it's like a Salesforce in a way. The more hopefully everyone knows what I'm talking about. The Salesforce is just such a big sales
Well, it's also so expensive. Salesforce is crazy expensive. I mean, I think matchmakers should all use Smart MatchApp because it's such a bargain compared. No offense. I think Salesforce is too expensive unless you are a giant company.
Yeah, well, some of them used it before Smart Match and then switched, but it's more like about the general how complex a system can become over time. And Smart Match has become quite complex as well.
Of course,
And there is it's just so customizable, yet we can go around it by training and on one-on-one consulting and just around your and building it around your workflow, without adding extra costs. So thank you for sharing this. I think that already just those two things, a few things that you mentioned will help if anyone is looking for a smart, not smart, but matchmaking CRM for their matchmaking business. I would like to conclude, if it's possible, with a few tips for matchmakers. Um, Believe it or not, we get a lot of new matchmakers coming to Smart Match to start their business, to start their databases, to set up their literally from the beginning, like their like first database ever. Literally, some of them. Well, it's either second, like after the Excel sheet, they had enough in the Excel sheet. Now they need a real database, or maybe they use some other CRM like a Zoho or something, and they need something more specialized. So they come to us, and they do view our training materials, marketing materials. What would you advise to them, to the up and coming matchmakers? The ones who are getting into this game, into this business. What
I
are the
mean,
tips?
I mean, building is hard, right? I mean, it's tedious in the beginning, but that first stretch is so important because you're building critical mass, right? And once you build critical mass, it's a lot easier. But that first, it can be really hard the first few months, right? Or even the first year. I mean, I was building, and I'll be honest, I am still building. I am still learning. I do not call myself a senior matchmaker by any stretch of the imagination. I am a junior matchmaker building my business, right? I mean, I've been fortunate to get some great business, but it takes a lot of work.
What
And
was the hardest thing for you, and how did you overcome it?
staying in the lane, staying focused, because I think I created too many email submission forms, too many things. I created like 20 of them. Like, oh, which one am I using? So I think that's for me, is to really drill down, right, and keep a system. I
And
am,
if that's regarding, you mean that's regarding the database or the CRM?
yeah, that's regarding the database.
Beyond CRM, in general, in your matchmaking business,
Oh,
when you were starting, what was the hardest thing for you in to start in the matchmaking business, and how did you solve it?
oh gosh, so many challenges. I think one for me is being systematic and following through, because you can love matchmaking, but if you don't have a system, things get dropped. And I think keeping a system is something that's not easy for me to do, because I always have all these ideas in my head, but I always have to kind of go back down to, like, what are the things that I need to focus on and keep a system. So that's one for me, but that's very unique to me. I don't think everybody has that problem.
How did you solve it? I'm curious. How did you?
Oh, I have notes. I have, like, I have sheets that say my goals, my personal, my financial, my professional, my health. I have my goal, I have why, I have my action step, and I grade myself. Otherwise, I stay unfocused. But you have to, right? Because otherwise, I've got so many things going on. Don't forget, I've got three kids. My oldest daughter's autistic. I also run the Asian American club in my city. I also teach mahjong for 55 people every Tuesday nights. I also have a 91-year-old dad. I'm also on the New York Asian Film Festival Associate Board. I'm also the co-president of the Global Wellesley College Asian Alumni Alliance. We've got like events in 14 cities. I am doing a lot of different things. I'm also on the Business Leadership Committee for Asian Health Services. So I have a lot of things going on in my life, right? So I have to focus. I have to have a system. Otherwise, I cannot run my matchmaking business.
I know with all that you just mentioned, without having a system, it's impossible. So it's interesting. It's interesting how you say it's one of your hardest challenges. And I think starting your own business is the best way to overcome this, because I have the same similar situation when I started my business. Like I I think my business became my best mentor. Like it actually mentored me because I had no choice. I
Yes.
had no choice. It was the best mentor for me. I had to change myself to be more organized and to do things that I don't like, for example, accounting or basics of accounting or understanding the numbers that I never liked in university. I was a more of a, I am still more of a humanitarian type. Is that a good way to say it? I don't
I
know,
guess
but
so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the more like I love the geography, I love the history, I love those kind of subjects in school all the
Same
time.
here.
And then I had to teach myself a lot of things that I didn't really like. So I think starting your own business is the teacher, is the mentor. It leaves you no chance.
Yeah, but I agree. But I think there's also something to be said about focusing on your strengths and finding tools to help you on your weaknesses, right? Because otherwise, we're going to beat ourselves up. Oh, I need to be better at this, right? So basically, you just find people or resources or tools to help you over that part. Because otherwise, it's. I mean, some fixes you can do, but some of them just not worth it.
Well, finding other people is a solution. Finding people who are better than you or better
Always.
than you than accounting, that's a solution. That's what you get to learn when you do entrepreneur. I totally understand, and I agree 100%. Well, Cassidy, so last bit here for today, and we will wrap up.
Sure.
Where people can find you? You're very busy. I got that part. All right.
No, no, no. But I'm not that busy. I mean, I'm busy, but I love talking to
No,
people.
no, no. It's just that how can people get your attention if they are
Oh,
either looking
LinkedIn,
for.
LinkedIn, or my website. So my website is awmlove.com, which is Ancient Wisdom Modern Love. awmlove.com, or just go to LinkedIn. Cassindy Chao, Cassindy, and
And
then
you will see the name on a screen there. It will
yeah,
be
yeah,
easily.
and,
You can.
and, and I'm on LinkedIn, right? But also I have my website, right? So my
Those
website,
are the best ways to find you. You
yeah.
go on. Okay, so they can find you on your website. We will list it down there in the
Well,
description
thank
as
you.
well, and we will link all your social media to your
Oh
to.
yeah, yeah. Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah, we'll
yeah.
link it all in the YouTube video in the
Well,
description.
thank you.
So, and you never know how people can contact you and find you. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we have met Cassindy Chao, and we have get a nice interview today. I think, don't you think so?
It was really fun talking to you, Tim. I love your questions.
You do?
I do. I do. They're very introspective and insightful. So thank you.
I appreciate that. We'll keep it going, and if you're interested, we can come back and do something more deeper in terms of the matchmaking tips potentially.
Anytime. Anytime, Tim. I love Smart MatchApp. I love what you built. So always happy to support.
Thank you. And I appreciate your generosity today. Thank you.
No, of course. No, thank you.